Welcome to Almost Here, Round the Corner Future Technology podcast with Richard Jacobs. Future technologies poised to transform our lives for better or worse are the focus of this podcast. Almost here means these technologies are now here and starting to be used, or just around the corner, from Bitcoin to artificial intelligence, 3D printing, blockchain, virtual reality, and more. Hello, this is Richard Jacobs with the Future Tech podcast. My guest I've been looking for a long time, Mike Michalowicz. He's a multiple-time author. He did Clockwork, Profit First, Surge, The Pumpkin Plan, The Toilet Paper Entrepreneur. Great guy. I think by listening to him and getting to know him, you'll just feel like he's a real nice guy, and he has got great ideas that are super helpful in business. So I'm glad he's here. So Mike, thank you for coming.
Rich, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate this.
Yeah. So, I mean, you weren't born all systematized and running a perfect business. So I know you've spoken it a million times, but just tell listeners a little bit about your history and what were some of the pain points that led you to say, I've had enough, and come up with systems and write books.
Yeah. So I'm an entrepreneur my entire adult life. Even out of school, out of college, I started my first business right away. I had the fortunate success of building a couple companies and selling them. Right in the beginning, I was in the tech space. I did computer systems, sold that to private equity. I was involved in computer crime investigation with my second business. We actually were one of the facilitators of the Enron trial. Yeah. And sold that company to a Fortune 500. The thing that happened, though, I think, and the interesting part of my story is I thought I knew everything. I was like, clearly, I know business. Businesses want to buy me. I got part of the Enron trial. I worked with celebrities. Christy Brinkley hired our company to manage an investigation around her divorce. And so I thought I was this hot tomato. Like, I knew everything. And so I started a third business as an angel investor. I was so bad at it. I was in the wrong place. I had no right to be in that space. I actually now lovingly call myself the angel of death when I look back on that. I was so bad. I was so bad at it and lost all my money. And what was interesting was it sadly took me the loss of all my money to realize how little I knew about entrepreneurship. I had to face my family and tell them that we lost all our money because of my idiocy with this new business. And it also forced me to, it was brutal. Dude, I had to sit down with my daughter, my 9-year-old daughter, and tell her we couldn't afford her horseback riding lessons. It was like $20 a lesson for a group session. I'm like, we can't do it. And the devastation it brought, to her, to everyone. And it forced me
Is your wife still with you? Same one?
Yeah, she did. Yeah, God bless her. She did not leave me. I think a lesser person would have. I think I would have left. We lost our house in this. We lost our possessions. We had to restart. And she stayed on for the journey. What I discovered,
really
though, yeah, tell me about it. And what I discovered was that I did not know much about entrepreneurship. I barely was scratching the surface. So I started to seek ways to improve profitability for myself, to learn how to bring balance to my life and in business and life, and started to write about it first for myself, but then it being very clear that this was something that I think I could, as I discovered the solutions for myself, I could give to others, and devoted myself to becoming an author. So I've been an author now for 10 years. Started in 2008, written all the books you mentioned, and have another one in the works right now. And my passion or my purpose, I feel, is really to eradicate entrepreneurial poverty, financial poverty, time poverty, poverty of happiness, all those elements. And that's what I do now as a full-time career.
Yeah, it seems like entrepreneurs, unfortunately, regular people look at them as like evil rich people or, dreamers or who knows what. And then the poor entrepreneur themselves, they have to face all these ups and downs and run their business. And a lot of them do blow up like you did. And I did too.
Yeah. You did.
I got to the point where I remember I was playing Monopoly and I would get all these properties and then lose them all and go bankrupt. And I was like, even in Monopoly, I'm doing the same stupid stuff I'm doing in real life. I gotta stop this.
It's true. I love how you defined that perception of the outside world, because that is entrepreneurial poverty. The world, the day you start your business as an entrepreneur, the world thinks you're wildly successful. You're a millionaire. You sit on the beach drinking Mai Tais. But the reality is we're working our tails off. We don't have any time for ourselves, and we're not making money. And there's this kind of disconnect between what the world sees and what the reality is. My intention is to give entrepreneurs those elements of success: wealth, health, happiness. Because I think really when we are caring for ourselves, we can care for our family, our community, our world. And I think entrepreneurs really drive that. So that's my hope, is to eradicate that entrepreneurial poverty.
Oh, that's great. So, what were some of the first steps or inklings that told you, "Ooh, I'm on the right track. This is getting better"?
So I think the first thing was I was Profit First. Now, interestingly, Profit First is not my first book, but was one of the first concepts I shared. The very first book I wrote was The Toilet Paper Entrepreneur, and it was this really edgy book about bootstrapping business. And there's a small little section there. It's literally like two, maybe three sentences that says, if you want to be profitable, take your profit first and start a profit first account. And I wrote that in there. I was doing it, and as I started to take my profit first in my own business, I started to see the impact that when you take your profit and hide it away from yourself, sure enough, you start finding ways to run your business off the remainder. And because you've taken your profit first, you force profitability. So I started to see success for myself, and that's why I wrote about it. But then I started getting these calls and these emails from people saying, "Wow, I tried out that little thing, and sure enough, that works." Well, one of those entrepreneurs told the Wall Street Journal, because the Wall Street Journal called me and said, "We want to write an article about this." And they commissioned me to write an article about Profit First. I became a subsequent columnist for the Wall Street Journal for about a year and a half to 2 years. And this one article started catching the eye of thousands and thousands of entrepreneurs. And that's when I knew the change had started. I was like, oh my gosh, these little insights that are helping me in my own business, there may be other entrepreneurs out there that can use this stuff too. And that inspired me really to go all in as an author, and not to do anything else, but just share these things I was finding.
Well, that's great. What level did you start at? Did you do like 1%, or were you aggressive at first with a percentage, or how has that changed over time?
Yeah, so with Profit First, the core concept is you pick a percentage you want, 10, 15, 20%, whatever it is, and take that money out of your income and allocate it to the side. And so there's these targets you can set. And when I wrote Profit First, I researched different businesses based upon the revenue you have, but it can be, 10, like I said, 10, 15, 20, maybe even 30%. But I started there assuming, well, if these companies are achieving 20% profit, I'll start there. And I took 20% from day one of my business. And then I was like, I realized, oh my gosh, this is crushing my business. I can't do this. And I wanted to give up on the system and say, well, clearly this is a stupid idea. But a friend of mine told me about this concept of small steps, and not regarding profit, but other things. Like when you want to make progress, take small steps. So I said, you know what, instead of starting at 20%, let me allocate 1%. So I restarted the system for myself with 1% profit, and found that was a no-brainer. If I brought in $1,000 any particular week, I'm taking 1%. That's, 1% is nothing. 1% is $10 hiding away. If I can run my business off $1,000, I can run my business off $990. And that started to give me confidence. I wasn't getting rich this way, but I was getting rich in confidence. Then slowly over time, I moved that 1% to 2, 4, 8, moved up to 10, 12, 16, 17, 18%. And yeah, I started slow, and that would make all the difference.
Well, it's good. I'm glad I asked you that. And then, how did the systemization part come to you? Did that only happen after you were relaxed and you had like a side purse going? Or like, what was the mentality that led you to these systems in the Clockwork book?
Yeah, so I've discovered, and I'm actually right now I'm writing my next book, and I've discovered there's this kind of hierarchy of stages that a business goes through. One of the stages is profit, but before that stage comes sales. Like I think the foundation of every business is sales. We need some source of inbound income. If we don't have that, if there's no money coming in, nothing else matters to the business. But once that's achieved, the next level up then is retention of money, a portion of it, which is profit. Once we have that, what the entrepreneur experiences emotionally is a degree of confidence. Like, wow, okay, I have a little cushion of cash. That helps a lot. I can be more selective in the customers I work with. And now what becomes important to the entrepreneur is time. Like, I don't want to carry the business on my back anymore. I don't want to be working ridiculously, long 12 or 14-hour or 18-hour days every day. No, I want to have balance. I want the business to serve me. I want it to be a joyful experience. So the next level up past profit is definitely time. And the goal of my book, Clockwork, is to show entrepreneurs the path to making a business run on automatic. What I thought it was productivity. When I started researching it, I was like, okay, we just simply need to find ways to become more productive ourselves and our team. What I discovered, though, in the process of researching it, is that productivity, while it is a necessary factor, it's not the solution, because productivity at a certain point starts feeding on itself. For example, if I want to get more work done, I become more productive. That also means that the more productive I am, I can do more work. So therefore, I take more work on. But to continue to do that additional work, I need to be even more productive, and to be, and it keeps on packing on. You become impacted with work, which will, kill you. I mean, figuratively, but maybe even physically too. What Clockwork about is choreographing all of the resources that our company has. And maybe we're company one. Maybe the resources are our vendors and software and technology. That can be organized and coordinated in a way to achieve the results without making effort. I think when you have employees, you can even take that even further. I believe the definition of an entrepreneur is not to do work, but to design the work, is to coordinate these resources to work collectively to achieve the outcomes we want. And then, as an entrepreneur, have the courage to stand aside as the business runs itself, which it's weird to use the word courage there, but it really is to remove our ego from this and really let the business run on automatic and simply be a counsel to our business or a visionary for our business to help choreograph all those elements to make sure it can run on its own.
It's hard to do that. I know I've been in those stages before. I thought a few years ago, I sat and I thought to myself, I would like to hear your answer to this question. If you think about the head of like Apple or the head of Google, what do they do all day? What do you think that someone that runs a company with tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of employees, they literally can't do a single thing in the business because it would suck them up in 2 seconds. So what do you think they do all day? Just,
Yeah, I mean, could you imagine Jeff Bezos, like you order something from Amazon, he runs down to the warehouse and packages it for you? I mean, that'd be absurd. He started that way. He was the guy packaging it. But today he's the visionary. And what I assume, and I can't, of course, speak for his specific day, but what I've seen through true entrepreneurs, these visionaries, is it is contemplation of concepts. There's a lot of time thinking. They're given the strategic challenges, saying, listen, for Amazon to continue to grow, Mr. Jeff Bezos, we need to open a new location. We need to have other access in the U.S. And Jeff is the one contemplating it. And that's literally what they just went through, was designating the city to move Amazon to. And I think they considered hundreds of cities. And Jeff was involved and coordinated the strategic decision on it's actually best for us to be in 2 cities. And they made that declarative. I think they're going to be in New York City, and I can't remember the other city was. They recently declared. But this is something I think we all need to do. I don't care how small your business is. You need to spend time. We all need to spend time thinking about it. There's a reason why we have those shower moments. When you're in the shower, you can't have your phone on. I mean, maybe you can, but hopefully you're not on your phone. You're not reading email. You're not doing anything about the business. And all of a sudden, those miraculous thoughts pop up. It's like, oh my gosh, we could just do this. And you have these great ideas because you've actually removed yourself from the business. We need to make that a deliberate practice. Maybe the shower is a solution. Just turn up that hot water and stay in there for an extra 20 minutes. The value you're going to get from that alone in improving your business outstrips any effort you can make in working inside the business. So we need to spend more time thinking, for sure.
So what's a standard allocation, again, for people to dip their toe in, just like Profit First?
Yeah.
You say, all right, I'm going to spend like 2 whole days a week thinking. That probably is too much. So, how could people start with that process, for instance?
Yeah, the old 1% rule. So if you've never taken profit before, start with 1% and just get into the habit. With time, if you work a 40-hour a week, take 1% of that. I don't know what that turns out to be, about 30 minutes or 40 minutes, or whatever. But you take 1% of that. And what I'm saying is, once a week, maybe you drive to your office or whatever, pull that car over, don't walk into the office, sit in the parking lot for 40 minutes, put the phone down, and just sit there, stare out the window, and just let the thoughts roll. Just ask yourself, what's the biggest challenge we're facing in our business, and let the thoughts roll. You will discover more things about your business just doing that than anything else. So start off slow until you start seeing the impact it has. It's extraordinary. And what I do it with the morning routine. I exercise pretty much every morning. And during that time, I will spend a little time just contemplating, just letting thoughts roll. And I keep a notebook next to me, and sure enough, these great ideas come up. Actually, the newest book I'm writing came up out of just one of those thinking sessions I had.
Okay. And then the key is, too, is at first, if you do 30 minutes a week, no one can really feel guilty about that. Or if they do, they're so out of control that they need it more than anyone else needs it.
Exactly. You feel guilty about spending 30 minutes of thinking. And the funny thing is, like, there's a statue dedicated to this, and I'm saying this partially in jest, but this is true too. Like, there's a statue called the Thinker, and if you think about the Thinker, there's this naked guy sitting there with his chin on his fist, just thinking. But it also speaks to the importance of that part of the human experience. Is we all need time just to think, to let our thoughts flow, and as entrepreneurs in a distracted society, we spend so much time doing, always trying to do more, that we've lost that most important talent of thinking.
They should open up like a posh, temporary jail in Beverly Hills or Silicon Valley where you can go and they'll lock you in and they charge you for the hour and you have no devices. You just got to think,
A jail. I like Bubba sitting there. He's like, "Hey, what are you in for?" I'm just here to think.
Yeah, just force. Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, very good. And then let's talk about the systems now, the Clockwork. So how do people start tackling that? What do they look at first in their business to systematize?
Yeah.
And, what's some helpful thinking there?
That's a great question. So I think as I was doing the research for Clockwork, I think I found the most important function inside every business. I give it a label. I call it the QBR. It stands for Queen Bee Role. And how I derived it is I was studying organizational efficiency and found what I believe is the most efficient organization in the world. Not human-based, it's insect-based, it's a beehive. They can scale very quickly with very low energy use. And so I was looking into this, and there's a simple protocol in beehives. And what it is that every bee knows if they are failing to produce eggs, that the beehive is in jeopardy because the lifespan of bees are very short. So their survivability or thrivability is contingent upon the production of eggs. And every bee knows that it must protect that. Now, not every bee produces eggs. In fact, only one bee does. It's the queen bee who produces eggs. But it's not that the queen bee is the most important. She does that job, but it's the role of producing eggs. If she's failing to produce eggs, they will remove her and spawn a new queen bee. So she isn't relevant. It's the production of eggs that's relevant. Well, in our business, every business has this equivalent called the QBR, the queen bee role. What is the egg laying, if you will, for your organization? What does your survivability and thrivability depend on? Now, in the book, I give a little more detailed process, but the shortcut to finding it is this. First, identify what your brand promise is. Like, what do you truly promise your customers? What's the one big guarantee or commitment you're making to customers? For me, as an example, as an author, I commit and promise to make complex concepts simple. That's my commitment. Then we say, what's the one activity that makes that promise reality? Activity is the QBR. So for me, it's the production of books. If I don't write books that deliver complex concepts simply, I'm in real trouble. My survivability and thrivability depends on that. But I think a better example, real quick, is FedEx, because we all know that brand. FedEx promises to deliver packages on time. That's their big commitment, their big promise. Well, if we peel back the onion one layer on FedEx, the activity that makes that a reality is logistics, the movement of packages. So the QBR, the most critical role of FedEx, is delivery of packages. Now, how this ties in and why this is so important is we need to make every effort to make sure that one and only that one function is humming at full speed. Other things are important. They need to be working, but if they struggle, they aren't nearly as important as logistics. If FedEx says, you know what, customer service is going down for 2 days and we're not going to be able to offer customer service, everyone goes to voicemail. Will that hurt FedEx? Yeah, a little bit. But if they deliver packages on time, because that's their QBR, doesn't matter. But if FedEx says, you know what, we're not going to deliver packages on time for the next 2 or 3 days. Actually, we may not even deliver any, quite frankly. Let's see how that goes. FedEx, they'll be all over the news, and FedEx is in deep crap. So we need to know what our QBR is and protect it.
Okay. So identify the QBR and protect it. Got that?
Protect it and make sure it's always humming along. Yep.
So what I saw, actually, I'm on your email list. It's a great list. I saw that you're actually starting to offer workshops now on, I guess, how to identify the QBR, how to protect it, and how to run your business like clockwork. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you still are offering them. Do you want to talk about that for a bit and what's involved?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I am. And I'm doing it actually following my own methodology. So, one of the keys here, if I believe the true definition of entrepreneurship is not working, not doing work, but it's designing the work. So, how do I run workshops yet not do the workshops is basically the challenge in front of me. So, what I did was I created an organization through a licensing agreement and have a president for the company. Her name is Adrienne Dorson. She's phenomenal, and her organization run the workshops. So I don't do it. The QBR for me is to write books that have big impact, make complex concepts simple, and then we started this organization called Run Like Clockwork, and Adrienne runs all the workshops. I do some cameo appearances that every so often, but she's running it, and that's how it is. The beautiful thing too is the impact it's having. This is such a passion of hers that we've already had. We've done, I think, 3 workshops already. We've had nearly 100 different businesses go through this process, and I got a call from one of the customers that went through it. A guy named John Briggs owns a company called Insight Tax. He's like, this has been life changing because of the impact that Clockwork has on his business and his implementation through his workshop. He actually just acquired his first company, and they've doubled their revenue, and it's running more efficiently than ever. So
That's awesome.
I'm super excited about it, as you can tell.
But, yeah, no, that's great. That's great. So to find out about the workshops, people should, I guess, get the Clockwork book, and then there's a call to action in there to get on your list, or should they go to your website?
Yeah, well, right. That's my marketing method, right? So, right, if you can get the book, and I think the book's a great starting point. So anyone that's not familiar with it, check out the book, and then yes, download the resources. That's our marketing. But we think it offers huge value. We have a quick start guide and all these different things. Once they download it, we will introduce them to the workshop. But if people want to skip all that, there's a business. Our business is called Run Like Clockwork. You can go to runlikeclockwork.com and we can get you right into a workshop.
Yeah, and I happened to listen to the audiobook, and it was cool to have you read it as well. It was nice to hear your voice and your emphasis on terms, and yeah, it was a great book.
Here's a little business lesson there. As I wrote my first book, I was talking to people that were fans of other books, and people were telling me, "Oh, I love Gary Vaynerchuk's stuff. Like his book Crush It was one of his originals, and others." I said, "Why do you love it so much?" Like, well, Gary, it's Gary. I love hearing his voice. He reads his own books and so forth, and that was clear to me. Oh my gosh, to be an author that people love, you got to read your own books because you know why you wrote certain things. You can emphasize it. You can break free from the book and share stories, and that's been so cool to get that feedback about reading my own books.
Yeah, because you think, when someone writes a book, they're this, I don't know, ethereal, godlike presence, and then when they read it, you're like, oh wow, that's what they sound like, and you feel like you know them better, and it bonds you to them,
It's true.
So, very cool. Well, in regards to the Clockwork process, what reservations do you hear from entrepreneurs, or what things do you see that they struggle with when they're trying to, go on that journey?
Yeah, well, I think one of the biggest struggles, and I face it too, is I call it the superhero complex. So as I started to go through Clockwork for myself, I wrote this book. I started researching this 6 years ago because I needed to get myself out of my own business. And the superhero complex kicked in. I get satisfaction, meaning it serves my ego, when my business has a problem and my employees come to me and I swoop in and fix it. That one client that's not happy, I get on the phone with them and make everything all right. That one vendor who wasn't delivering their promises and I sort it out, make it happen again. Whatever it is, the fact that I could swoop in and fix it really satisfied my ego. But now what I realize is that superhero syndrome actually damages my business. Every time I was swooping in, that meant my employees weren't addressing it. I was taking away that ability from them of fixing themselves and just stripping away myself. Kind of like the superhero persona from the movies. Superman fights Lex Luthor, but that also means that the police department's not learning how to fight Lex Luthor. They're dependent upon the superheroes. So this weird dependency kicks in. Also, I realized Superman destroys half of whatever city's in, like New York City, trying to defeat Lex Luthor, and then leaves all the cleanup, all those buildings and stuff to humanity. He says, "Hey, you guys fix all the damage I caused." Superhero in that respect, Superman's kind of a jerk, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm kind of being a jerk." I am swooping in. I don't even see the damage I'm causing. My colleagues have to clean it up. and there's this dependence upon me. That's been the biggest roadblock, is just getting over myself. And I think many entrepreneurs struggle with that. I think what we need to do is change our label. No longer consider yourself or ever see yourself as a superhero. See yourself as a super visionary, someone that sees what the future can be like and then empowers the team to get there, encourages the team, choreographs all those resources to make that a reality. That's what will get the results.
Okay. Yeah, that's very helpful. In the book, so you lay out the path from start to finish for people?
I do. So Clockwork is a 7-step process, and as we're going through this interview, I mean, you're walking us down a perfect path. Start off with that 1%. Like, how do you start this? You get out of the business just for 30 minutes a week, just to think about the business, and that's the start. But then there's different stages. I talk about capturing systems. As we do things, how do we capture it? Not through SOPs. I don't believe in SOPs whatsoever. But how do we capture this and transfer to other people? I talk about there's a flow called the acdc, which has nothing to do with the band, but is about as awesome as the band. The acdc is the flow of tasks through a business. A is attracting. We need to attract prospects. C is convert them to customers. D is deliver on the promises. And the final C is collect money. And when we see through this flow, when we have problems with our businesses, whatever the problem may be, we can look at it and say, pinpoint where in this flow is the problem and then start fixing that. So Clockwork is a structured process of starting at this foundational level of just give yourself time to think, get through these diagnostic tools like the acdc and so forth, capture systems, and ultimately the book concludes with the big commitment we need to make, and I'm actually doing it myself. My next one's in 2 weeks, is taking a 4-week vacation. What I believe, I'm convinced of it now, is when an entrepreneur can be extracted from their business for 4 consecutive weeks, that means the business is no longer dependent upon the entrepreneur. Therefore, we need to declare a 4-week vacation. What will happen is when you do this for your own business, if anyone listening in says, okay, oh my gosh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to take 4 weeks off, panic will ensue. And it's like, oh my gosh, how am I going to pull this off? I don't think I can do it. Yeah. But then we start saying, well, what do I need to do now to take one step toward this? And then what do I need to do next? And so forth. So my 4-week vacation is December 7th to January 7th. So right before we're recording this, I'm splitting in 2 weeks. But I've been working on this for a year and have run on multiple tests to see if I can, the business can run without me. I've left the business for 10 consecutive days, and we did make it through painlessly. There was bumps and bruises, and I came in and set up new systems, but now we're in a position where I'm confident my team will be able to handle this. I do know this, my business will not die in the next 4 weeks while I'm away, but when I return, it may not be perfect, but anything that's not perfect is the next thing I need to start designing an improvement for, and then I can take my next 4-week vacation.
That's great. That's fantastic. Okay. So I know you got to go soon. Just a question or two. So the next book that's coming, what can you say about it?
So the next book is I discovered there's this hierarchy of needs that businesses have. Now there's a thing called the Maslow hierarchy of needs that speaks to human needs. But I found there's the same kind of hierarchy as applies to business, and specifically every business, for it to survive, it needs sales. That's the foundational need. But the next level up is profit. Once you have sales coming in, you need to be able to extract some of that money to sustain. That's profit. And then we can keep going up this hierarchy. The next level up is time. We talked about that in Clockwork. The next level above that, I believe, is relevance, where clients see you as something beyond a transaction. You're more significant than that. And then the highest level is impact. Impact being where we are literally changing the world, that we are on a mission greater than a transaction, or on a mission of serving the world, having a positive impact. Well, the next book is about navigating through these stages. It's about pinpointing where your business is right now and what you need to do next to keep on elevating up to the different level.
And what's the name of the book?
To be determined. So right now it's called Fix This Next, but I don't think that's going to be it. It may be called Ascension. There's about 50 titles floating around. Unfortunately, that's only picked about like 4 or 5 months before publication. In many cases, from my experience, I write the book first and then the title comes about after.
That makes sense, yeah. When do you expect it to hit Amazon and other places to be purchased?
It's booked for a 2020 release, so it's probably going to be February or March of 2020. And even though I've been working on this model now for about 2 years conceptually, in earnest working on it for about 3 months, it literally takes me that long. It takes me 3 to 4 years on average to really compile and complete an entire book.
Well, they're worth it. I mean, the books have a lot of great concepts in them.
Thank you.
So, they're worth
Thank
the wait.
you very much. Thank you.
Well, very good, Mike. So, I mean, this is awesome. So I know you're going on vacation, but your business will still be there to answer people's inquiries. So what's the best way? What are several different ways for people to reach out and to, get your books, to look at the Clockwork course, et cetera?
Thanks, Rich. We'd love to connect with everyone. And we'll absolutely be here even while I'm on vacation. The website is the best spot to start. It's MikeMichalowicz.com. But I know this already. No one knows how to spell Michalowicz. It's Polish. It's long. It's ugly. There's a much better domain. It's Mike Motorbike. That's my shortcut. My nickname in high school, as an aside, was Mike Motorbike. I've never driven a motorcycle, by the way. But if you go to MikeMotorbike.com, that'll forward you onto my site. And every book I've written, there's free chapter downloads, so you can start reading immediately without having to buy anything. I also used to write for the Wall Street Journal, so that's up there. All my articles. I'm a blogger. I'm a podcaster now for years. All that content's up there for free. Plus, it's a pretty fun site too. When you get navigating around, you'll definitely see things you've never seen before on other sites. Okay.
Well, very good. Well, Mike, thanks for coming, and I really appreciate it.
Rich, it's an absolute pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
You have been listening to Almost Here, Around the Corner Future Technology podcast with Richard Jacobs. Subscribe to this podcast, post a review to discover more future technologies that are poised to transform our lives for better or worse, such as Bitcoin, artificial intelligence, 3D printing, blockchain, virtual reality, and more.